Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Path Through podcast. So, today we're going to be taking a little deep dive into something that everybody has, but nobody likes to talk about. It's the big A. Now, what is that? Talking about anxiety. So, today on this episode, I think that we're really going to dive into just the path through anxiety, right? Because this is what this podcast is all about. It's about diving into the things that people don't like to talk about. People don't like to talk about anxiety or depression or success or failure while they're actively going through it. And I feel like it's so important to have a space that actively discusses that because guess what? It's something that we all endure. It's something that we all go through. So many people don't even know the definition of anxiety or what anxiety actually is. They kind of view anxiety as something that they need to get rid of, something that's bad. You shouldn't talk about it, something that you feel ashamed to have, right? And I'm here to tell you, anxiety is a part of you. Anxiety is something that's not going anywhere. Instead of having the mentality where this is something that I'm trying to get rid of, this is something I don't understand why it's here, I need to get rid of it, I had to shift my mentality into this is something that isn't going away and is something that I need to learn how to coexist with. Anxiety used to control me. It used to rule my life in a way. It used to completely hypnotize me where I didn't even know myself. I didn't know that it was even controlling my mind until I was already out of it. It was literally like someone was coming and hypnotizing me for like 5 to 10 minutes, sometimes longer, and they took me outside of my body. I didn't have control of my body, my mind, or anything, and I didn't realize that it was happening to me until after I was already out of it, and I was looking back in it, and I was like, whoa. I just went on this entire anxiety storm for like the past 15 minutes and it felt like I had no control over it. It felt like it was completely controlling me. So I got curious and I have like this curious mind where I like to know how things work. So I went to therapy. And the intention behind therapy wasn't to go and talk about my feelings. I feel like everybody may need to do that, but that was not my intention going into it. I was not looking to talk about my feelings. I couldn't care less about talking about my feelings. I was trying to understand what is going on in my brain, what is going on in my body, what is going on in my mind that is making me react like this. I wanted to understand what it was so I can learn how to control it. And that is exactly what I did. And I can safely say that I'm moderately good. I'm not going to call myself an expert, but I can think I'm pretty good at coexisting with anxiety and being able to maneuver through life with it and learning how to deal with it and learning how to speak with it. And I said it before in other podcasts, I literally speak to myself. I speak to my mind like it's a friend. I speak to it like it's a child. You would literally probably think I'm crazy when you see the conversations that I have with myself. But I decided to go to therapy. So I booked the appointment and I went in, and it starts off with, talking about everything that's going on, what is triggering it. And I was in a very high stress situation at the time. It was when I just left the military and it was incredibly stressful. I was just starting real estate. I was going through some relationship problems. It was a lot of transitioning factors that were going on in my life at the time. And it it felt like this thing was just completely taking over my life. It was taking control of me and I wanted to figure it out. So we start off, with talking about everything that's causing me stress. Then we start getting into where she assigned me homework. And the homework was breaking down the chemical factor of anxiety. So for me, I like to understand things on the cellular level, the smallest, minute details. I like to understand it because it helps my brain digest it a lot better and it helps me fully be able to understand something. And when she started to assign these homeworks, it was like these papers and they were going over what is actually happening in your brain when anxiety is happening, right? And what I was able to realize from this homework and just by speaking with her and going over all these things is that I was looking at anxiety like it was something that was not supposed to be there. I was looking at it as something that this creature that was attacking me and it wasn't supposed to be there and I needed to get rid of it. That was my mentality going into this therapy session is how can I get rid of this thing that is tormenting me? And when I was leaving the session, it then transitioned into a mindset of this is something that is a part of me. It's not something that's ever going to go away. So because it's not something that's ever going to go away, I need to learn how to coexist with it within my mind without letting it control me. Explain anxiety kind of like a child. The more you neglect the child is the more it screams out for attention, the more it starts to rebel, the more it starts to be unruly, right? That is anxiety in your mind is like a child. And when you neglect it like we do, we push it to the side and we look at it as something that's not supposed to be there. We look at it as something that is bad. We don't pay any attention to it. Anytime we think about it, it's in a negative way. This is like a child. So the more neglected it feels, the more silence it feels, the more it feels like it's not being heard, is the more it's going to try to scream for attention. And when it starts to scream for attention, it's going to project outwards in different ways. It's going to project outwards in fear. It's going to project outwards in doubt. It's going to project outwards in depression. You're going to feel so overwhelmed and so stressed and you don't know what's going on. And this is the anxiety inside of you that is screaming out for attention and screaming out for help. So what is anxiety? I look at anxiety, my definition is it's like an alarm. Just like how you have an alarm that goes off at 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. in the morning that tells you, hey, it's time to wake up. And now you know it's time to wake up. That is what anxiety is. It is an alarm in your mind that is signaling you of some form of danger. Now, your brain doesn't know the difference between dangers that are actually real and the dangers that we create in our mind. So that's where we have to separate them and we have to break them down in a way where we can look at the anxiety. When that alarm goes off, we're like, hey, I see you. You're right here. I'm awake. I'm paying attention. What are you trying to tell me? When you think of danger, it doesn't necessarily have to be there's a man with a knife running towards you trying to stab you in the face. No, it doesn't necessarily have to be that. It can be something as simple as you might not have enough money in your account to pay your rent and your car note. And now that is your brain signaling you that, hey, there is danger here. There is uncomfortability here. So when that anxiety comes up, it is signaling you that, hey, there is something that is out here that can be of some sort of harm. So that's not a voice that we want to ignore. It's a voice that we want to nurture. And it's a voice that we want to love because it is a part of us. The only time that it gets bad, just like everything is good in moderation. So the only time anxiety gets bad is when we let it completely control us. But it's doing its job. It's alerting you that there's danger around. It's alerting you that, hey, there's something going on that is making me afraid. It's kind of funny because I really do look at my emotions as people in my mind. To me, anxiety is this little scared kid that's in the corner, right? In my mind, that is what anxiety is. It's a scared little kid in the corner, and whenever something comes up, it's just always afraid. Those people, you ever met someone that's just always afraid? They're always on edge. It's always like something that they're terrified of. That is what I look at anxiety in my mind. So instead of looking at it as like, this is so annoying, this is so, something that's not supposed to be there, I look at it with compassion. I look at this scared little kid with compassion. So whenever it comes up, yes, sometimes it's very unwarranted and it's very unwelcomed, but whenever it comes, I have to look at it with compassion. I have to deal with it like I was talking to a scared little kid. So I have to say, hey, what is the danger here? What are we afraid of? Okay, is it something that we can't fix? Is it something that's within our control? Is it something that's not within our control? These are the conversations that you need to be having with yourself whenever you're having this flare up of anxiety, because it's going to help regulate it. Once you figure out a solution to the alarm that's going off, and once you've planned it out, let's say it's a financial issue. You don't have enough money to pay your rent and your car note. Okay, well, maybe in your mind you can say, okay, well, I'm going to get paid again on the 15th, so maybe I can pay my rent now and I won't be late on my car note until the 21st, so that means I can pay my car note on the 21st. And immediately that anxiety starts to subside. It's still present because it's a part of you, but it's not something that is controlling your emotions. It's not something that's controlling you overall. So we have to learn. And we have to learn how to look inwards into ourselves and figure out what is going on. Our body speaks to us. Our mind speaks to us. So nothing that goes on in ourselves, nothing that goes on in our bodies is something that's a coincidence. It's something that is there for a reason. So the only time that this thing is bad is when it's done in excess. It's not done in moderation. Whenever the anxiety takes over and all you can see is all the things that can possibly go wrong, you get so afraid, you're thinking about all the worst case scenarios. And I've been there. That was my mind for years. I was literally being hypnotized by anxiety and I didn't understand what was going on. It was like someone was taking control of my body, taking control of my mind, and I wasn't aware of it until after the fact. When I was looking back and I was like, oh wow, I just went off on this crazy tangent of all the horrible things that can possibly go wrong. So a lot of us are struggling with this and we look at it as something that's bad. We go and, maybe get medicated or all of these different things because we're looking at it as something that is not supposed to be there, something that we're trying to get rid of. It is not something you can get rid of. It's there to protect you. But you just have to say, okay, just like an overprotective parent, right? Because sometimes we might be a little bit overdramatic. Your anxiety might be a little bit overdramatic sometimes, but that's where you have to speak to it and you have to acknowledge it and you have to acknowledge its presence, that it's there, so that you can be able to regulate yourself back to some sort of homeostasis. And especially in high stress situations, there's always going to be that kind of dormant anxiety that just kind of lingers. Right now, currently, I'm in a very high stress situation, right? So like everything in my life right now is super high stress. So even though I have this mentality and I can look at things and say, okay, I'm very anxious about this, so let me try to figure out how I can plan around it to ease that portion of the anxiety. There's also this latent anxiety, this kind of dormant anxiety that just sits throughout the day. But I acknowledge its presence. I know that it's there. But it's just because I'm in a very high risk situation. So my brain is going ding, 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 danger, danger. There's something going on here. I'm afraid. But all of that is natural. So when I have that fear, when I have that doubt, when I have that anxiety that comes up, I can be able to regulate myself and I can be able to say, okay, we're figuring it out, right? And maybe it's something that's not completely in our control. So we can say, hey, this is not something that's in our control right now. So here, just take a seat for a moment. Again, it's so funny because I really do speak to these things like a child. Literally go through this verbiage in my mind when it comes to it. I will be like, take a seat for a minute. This is something that is completely out of our control. So there's no point in allowing yourself to get overstimulated with anxiety, thinking about everything that can go wrong. Because the only way to subside your anxiety is figuring out the path through. Is figuring out the path through. Figuring out how you can minimize the threat. So I want you guys to try this and I want you guys to tell me if this is something that works for you and if you need step-by-step directions on how exactly to do it or you want me to walk you through it, I'd be more than happy to do that. And this is part 1 of the Path Through Anxiety. Just a quick little tidbit on it and just a brief little summary of how you can go through your day without anxiety completely controlling you or completely taking over your mind. It's natural, but it's a snowball. It's a snowball. So it's something when it starts rolling, it just keeps going and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And we don't acknowledge it until we're completely overstimulated, until we're literally freaking out. So we have to work on catching it the minute it comes up. The minute that that thought comes up, the minute that that feeling in your pit of your stomach pops up, that, hey, I'm afraid of something, acknowledge it. Figure out what the fear is. What are you afraid of? You have to figure it out. And then you have to minimize the threat level. You have to minimize the effect of the anxiety. And the only way to do that is to minimize what it sees as a threat. Minimize that threat level. So sometimes it's something as simple as just planning. It's just planning things out. It can be something as simple as that. So I hope this helped. This is a super short episode. If you guys want a part 2, I'd be more than happy to help. And I'd be more than excited to hear your stories about your struggles with anxiety and any tips and tricks that you might have for someone that is trying to overcome this, because I know it's something that really, really affects us. And I definitely wanted to just share my perspective, my story on it, and hopefully this helps someone. Again, this is the Path Through podcast. I am your host, Tanoy Thames. And if you guys enjoy my content, please subscribe, like, or follow us on social media at the Path Through podcast. Until next time.